This is Anna Patterson with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great day so far and a great week so far. Actually sending you greetings. We are actually in Wilmington this morning, and Castle Hayne, technically. We are at the Cape Fear Housing Coalition Legislative Breakfast. And so we're recording this on site at the North Campus of the Cape Fear Community College, where our Executive Director, Samuel Gunter, gave a state policy update to our partners across the Cape Fear region. And then we also heard from members of the Wake County Property Tax Justice Working Group, who highlighted their amazing work and accomplishment over the last few years. So shout out to the Cape Fear Housing Coalition for inviting us. Once again, this has definitely been something that has been a standing tradition for years, and we look forward to next time. Another organizational update just wanted to lift up is a reminder. Bringing It Home registration closes on Friday. So Bringing It Home is happening May 26th to the 28th at the McKimmon Center in Raleigh, but registration does close this Friday. We do have our conference page linked in the call notes for you. There is an in-person and a virtual option. They have different prices, but again, registration closes this Friday, May 15th. And if you have any questions, you can contact Stephanie Kirby. Moving on to federal updates. The Department of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner is going to testify on the Trump administration's fiscal year 27 budget request this week. He's actually scheduled to testify before the House and Senate Appropriation Committees this week at hearings on the current fiscal year 2027 budget request, specifically around housing and community development programs. The House hearing is actually today at 4 p.m. and the Senate hearing is Thursday, May 14th at 10 a.m. We have links to the live stream for both the House and the Senate hearings linked in the call notes for you, but you can also check out the respective congressional websites for those hearing links. Yesterday, our president posted to social media actually demanding that Congress pass the Senate's 21st Century Road to Housing Act. Currently, as many of you know, the legislation is at a standstill in the House, where some legislators are concerned about a provision to limit investor ownership of single-family homes and a provision related to the Federal Reserve issuing digital currency. There are a lot of polls that are showing that voters overwhelmingly support housing legislation. And so a lot of lawmakers are being motivated both by upcoming midterm elections, the ones that just passed, but also, of course, the ones that are happening later this year to respond to voters' concerns about rising affordability. And this is one of the key reasons why, if you are part of Housing Day, we actually lifted up this as a major concern and a key message. Our folks at the Bipartisan Policy Center in late April also actually found, and this is a nationwide representative poll, found that 89% percentage of voters say that the House and Senate need to work together to pass legislation aimed at improving housing affordability. And so 63% of voters say that they would be more likely to vote for their representative or senator if they helped pass legislation to build more affordable homes and lower housing costs. Those are big percentages. So definitely something of note. Housing is clearly top of mind, and folks are concerned. Updates from our colleagues at the National Low Income Housing Coalition. There are two. There is an opportunity to provide comments on the proposed home rulemaking process. There is a home rulemaking proposal to remove some tenant protections and other changes. Comments are due June 1st. And then there are also a few follow-up pieces of guidance for public housing authorities regarding immigration re-verification. So please take a look at that in the call notes. On the state side, we want to give a shout out to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Their urgent repair program recently celebrated serving over 20,000 homes served statewide. More than 20,000 low-income homeowners in North Carolina have received emergency home repairs thanks to the Urgent Repair Program, or ERP, administered by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. And this program is supported by the North Carolina Housing Trust Fund, which is funded by the General Assembly. Speaking of the General Assembly, we still have no budget. However, there seems that there is progress towards agreement on tax policy, which seems to be the main kind of point of contention And the closer we get to agreement on that, the closer we get to possibly a budget. So there's energy and some optimism, but there's still a lot of work to be done. We have released our updated bill tracker for short session bills that we're following and looking at. So we'll make sure to link that in the call notes for you. And we also wanted to just give you an update on some of the legislation that we're looking at already, primarily on the property tax legislation side, which is big this week. An updated version of the Affordable Housing Property Tax Modification Bill, which is House Bill 1042, is on the agenda this morning for the House Finance Committee. And this text was released late yesterday, so we're following this and anticipating additional changes to the bill because we know that more have been requested. A big thank you to folks who've been engaging with us on this. Your feedback has been extremely helpful, and we have been taking that and sending it to members of the committee as well as to their staff to make sure that they're aware of the things that need to be changed. So this is being heard today, the Affordable Housing Property Tax Modification Bill, again, in House Finance, and we will update you on its path through the House as we learn more. Senate Bill 889, which would pause property tax revaluations in 12 counties this year, actually passed the Senate last week in a vote of 35-8. Now, the Speaker of the House, Destin Hall, has indicated that he is not necessarily opposed to the bill, but would like to see the bill actually included as part of a larger property tax package. And so we are trying to keep an eye on that. Of course, at the coalition, we are really firmly emphasizing the importance of addressing the true need and the cost burden that homeowners are facing across North Carolina. And in order to do so, modernizing property tax relief programs is the way to do that. The North Carolina Budget and Tax Center is going to host a special Revenue Learning Lab session on property taxes next Monday, May 18th from 12 to 1 p.m. on Zoom. And during this event, you'll actually get to hear from the Housing Coalition's Community Justice Collaborative Director, Hudson Vaughn, as well as the Director of Research at the North Carolina Budget and Tax Center, Logan Rockefeller Harris. And so I highly recommend that you all join for that and learn a bit more about what the approaches are that are being proposed versus what would be most effective for addressing the cost burden that folks are facing. Moving on to local headlines, just want to take a moment and to reflect on some sad news and ask folks to really honestly hug your loved ones and think about not only them, but the folks that they are connected to. A large fire broke out last Monday at the Hillside Apartments in Carrboro, and multiple units sustained significant fire and smoke damage. Thomas, or Tommy Owens Jr., a 53-year-old resident of Carrboro, died in the fire, and at least 20 residents have been displaced. American Red Cross personnel are assisting displaced residents with temporary housing and immediate needs. So in addition to, not in addition to, we know that these 20 residents have been displaced, and that is going to be a journey back to stability that is going to be surely tricky, but we hope that it's as smooth as possible. But I really do just want to take a moment of silence for Tommy Owens, who died in his fire and lost his life. For those that don't know, a lot of these families lived in permanent supportive housing units. And for those in this work that understand the importance of permanent housing and supportive housing, this is a big deal for stability and the stability of families. So thank you for being a part of this work. I hope that, again, you all hug your loved ones and think of those that are on the front lines doing this work and supporting folks' housing stability. Moving on to reports, events, and resources. There's a few reports that we want to lift up. There is a report from the Joint Center for Housing Studies looking at remodeling growth that is actually trending towards slowing down sharply early next year. And then there is another report that hits close to home, honestly. No place to land, housing insecurity among caregiving college students. This is from New America. For anyone who has ever been a caregiver or been involved in caregiving, especially at a young age, but really at any age, we understand how much of not only a physical and emotional toll that it takes, but a financial toll that it can take. Another event that we want to lift up is the North Carolina Community Development Association and Professional Rehabilitation Association of North Carolina are having their annual spring conference next week in New Bern. The agenda and registration link are going to be in the call notes. Our executive, Samuel Gunter, as well as Vicki Nelson, the president of National Community Development Association, will be there discussing state and national community development policy updates. Also happening after next week, so in 2 weeks, the Henderson Housing Summit is happening on Wednesday, May 27th from 5:30 to 7 at Hendersonville High School. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, our Bringing It Home conference is happening May 27th through the 28th at the McKimmon Center in Raleigh. Registration closes this Friday. We want you also to save the date for our North Carolina Affordable Housing Conference that will be held on October 22nd through the 23rd at the Raleigh Convention Center. Early bird registration will open on July 27th. Thank you all again for joining us. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out, and we will talk to you next time.